just give an overview of what I'm going to be doing here. This is going to be in a few sections, and each section will be followed by a Q&A. The topics are misconceptions and what TST isn't, what TST is, and what chapters are for, and what will be happening in general. So, the first thing is the misconceptions. What most people know about Satanism comes from the Satanic Panic of the 80s and 90s. You might be familiar with the sort of mafia-like satanic cults that were said to be roving around the countryside, sacrificing children and animals, and being integrated into every level of society in some big conspiracy. And that's what some people still think of, even though it has been so long debunked. I think everybody's aware of that, though. But it is an interesting topic, and Lucian Greaves does a very good presentation on that. Very detailed. It's on the main Satanic Temple website. So you can check that out to learn more. The next thing will be theistic versus atheistic. Because the next misconception is that we worship some sort of an actual Satan. But that's not the case. There are a few different variations of theistic Satanism where they do worship something. Usually it ends up being more like a sort of deism. But they do exist, and we don't have anything to do with them. So that brings me to atheistic Satanism, which we're a small part of that. By far the biggest group of Satanists, atheistic or otherwise, would be the LaVeyans, or the Church of Satan. And that's who we're usually mistaken for, just because that's who the majority of Satanists are. Now, the Church of Satan was founded in 1966 by Anton LaVey, and other than being atheistic, it's very different than what the Satanic Temple is about. It's got a kind of a social Darwinist sort of philosophy based on Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard and Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism. We'll say. The little Aleister Crowley mysticism thrown in. LaVey had some good ideas. I tend to not agree with him in a lot of cases. In the LaVeyan Satanists, there's some of them that we try and avoid for the most part, because depending on how they interpret things, it can be anywhere from you kind of liberal sort of person all the way to a rather Nazi-like person, depending on how they cherry-pick the Satanic Bible. And a lot of those things are up to interpretation, because LaVey wouldn't just say the things that he thought. He would also say things that would give a certain effect, so that they would get people to think the things he wanted them to think. So you can never tell what he was completely serious about. So they're kind of a mixed bunch, and you'll probably run into them all the time. Some of them are more agreeable than others. But that's one group that we get confused with quite often.
Quick question?
As a matter of fact, it's time for Q&A.
Would it be, actually it seems as though that would be a benefit, that confusion, because how we get a rise out of audiences would involve irrational fear of something. That's entirely why there'd be an attachment to Prince of Darkness kind of thing, as compared to just reason and sensibility. So isn't the confusion in a small way a good thing?
Yes, it is to a certain extent, and and in addition to the confusion having kind of a good part to it, people's fear and revulsion of Satanism can also be useful. And as a matter of fact, I kind of like the fundy types feeling that way. And they're the sort of irrational people that no matter what is said, they will always be like that. That's always the way they will think, and it's very useful to the organization. Anyone who is not of the fundy sort, I want to kind of humanize Satanism for them, so they can see that we're not unlike them and relate to us, and just kind of make a personal connection with people. Because I think we want to have that division. We want to scare the people who are causing the problems and doing what we want, and we want to have all the other people on board with us and at least identifying with our rights as humans.
Kind of like that, Americans United, the little gal that came out to Baldwin that helped us. She was a little tiny bit of a woman and a Baptist preacher and an attorney, the lead attorney for Americans United for Salvation Church and State.
Always good. Interesting. And we've had plenty of Christian allies. There have been Christians who have come to the Satanic Temple page, identified as Christians, and said they support what we're doing because they believe in separation of church and state. I've had Muslims say that they like what we're doing, especially Muslims that live here because they face the same persecution. Yeah, sometimes. We were talking about that, me and a particular Muslim on the internet, about what would freak them out worse, the radical Christians, something satanic or something Muslim.
Either one.
Yeah, either one would probably do it. Exactly. There's not really a difference in their minds. So, any other questions?
Question. I'm not sure if it's a question or an objection, but I understand the usefulness of at least posing as a religion for tactical and legal purposes, but apart from purposes of activism and trolling, where's the value added in bringing all this mythological baggage in?
I'm going to get to that, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
That'll be coming later. But actually, there's nothing mythological involved because the official position is one strictly of skepticism. So there's no belief in anything that does not come from reason or empirical evidence.
Mythological is maybe not the right word, but the
symbolism,
the literary figure.
The pink mass, is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna
like the ritual.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to
me that's just parody. I don't know if it's intended that way. To me, it's just parody. But
that was mostly parody. But there's a reason for it.
You mean like religion baggage by self-identifying as a religion and working on what people identify as?
Yeah, there's a whole big thing with that.
I mean, I can subscribe to all the 7 tenets of official churches, official Satanic Templeism, without worrying about the figure of Satan. What does that figure add besides baggage?
I will get to that. That is one of the most common things that people talk about. Yes, so that's going to feature prominently.
So, being a religion, is it because we just say we're a religion, or do you have to do something to be a Christian religion?
It really is a religion, and I'm going to get into how we define that and why that's important. What matters about that.
I mean, do you get a tax break on the rent here?
Yeah, they don't.
You could, but we do not believe in that. We believe that churches and religions should all pay their taxes, and we lead by example.
is it fair to, not to put words in your mouth, you've got paper in front of you, so that seems like there's some plan to that.
Yep, got some notes there.
Yeah, to Bill's point, is it possible that waiting for the inevitable to happen, and it seems as though there's an acceleration of people leaving the church, self-identifying as the nuns, as it's referred to in Poland. Is it possible that this is more of a I'm sick of waiting kind of mentality? I want to do what I have to do right now, regardless of whether it's deemed parody or not, because I can stand behind classic fears to make a point and to maybe help the bigger cause.
That's part of it, and also organizing people who don't like a supernatural based religion, but perhaps would like some sort of a sense of community. That's definitely part of it, and that's definitely something I'm going to be getting into in the next section about what PSP is.
Good.
All right, we good? Okay. So now we find out what the Satanic Temple is. So, starting with an introduction, it was founded a little over 2 years ago by Lucian Greaves and Malcolm Jerry, and the idea behind it was to have not just an activist organization, but an actual religion. And it would be a religion completely divorced from supernaturalism and even opposed to supernaturalism, because the idea is that religion at its essence is sincere, deeply held belief. And we all have our sincere, deeply held beliefs, whether that be in the philosophy of skepticism, or feminism, for example, or anything you can think of. Our secular values are important to us just as much as religious people's supernatural ideas are to them. And we need to have equal treatment in the government. So they shouldn't be able to just say, well, it's my religion, and trump secular values. So we can have our religion too, which is simply sincere, deeply held belief, and there doesn't need to be any supernatural component to it. We're completely against that, and that's the primary idea that they were going with. Now, getting on to the philosophy, I've been calling this modern Satanism. There's somebody that does a podcast that's called Modern Satanism, and that is maybe part of it, but also because it's very, very much like a left-hand path version of modern humanism. If you notice, most of the things are like modern humanism, mostly of the secular humanist division of that, but there's a little bit of the well, they call it religious humanism, but there's no supernatural stuff in that. There's just some ritual and stuff added to that, which is completely optional, not something I'm into. But so it's kind of like the larger category of modern humanism. The morality of it is exactly the same, really. I'm going to try and not get into this too much because this can get long, drawn out, and boring. The basis of morality, or meta-ethics as it's called, is, well, it's completely subjective, really. There's no actual moral source that you can point to. A lot of times religions will have some sort of a deity, some codified set of law given to us by divine fiat or what have you. But there is no such thing. There's no evidence to support that. So I start with kind of a nihilistic view of morality. So you have to have something to base your normative values on. And the basis for those is technically subjective, but can be treated as if it were objective. It's the evolution of our species as a social species, and you can see the what we call a conscience in the behaviors that go along with that. There's been a number of studies of previous social species that exhibit some of those behaviors too. So ours is kind of just more of the latest, most sophisticated version of it. But you can see the same behaviors in chimps or rats or even in ants to at least some extent. And that's those feelings are what we can actually base a sort of morality on, because it's something that we all agree on for the most part. I mean, there's always going to be some small things that are kind of a matter of opinion, but mostly we can agree on it. Now, in addition to just those feelings, which can be treated as a sort of virtual objective basis on just because of agreement. You can also apply logic to it and look at empirical evidence and get some guidance on what to think about those moral feelings and how you should act and all that sort of thing. Now there can be situations where it gets corrupted. Religion, for example, where people ignore those sorts of feelings, ignore logic and reason, and they believe something even though there's no reason to do so other than they were just told to.
I did interrupt her. I'll lose train of thought if I don't. The ability to have empathy in general. Empathy, I've always assumed that you either have it or you don't. If you don't have it, I don't know that it's possible to maybe learn it. So aside from having some core tenets and saying, this is a group where we're all getting together for a commonality and a common reason, and we share some things that are good to have maybe written down. If you don't value someone else's actions naturally as part of just your programming, do you feel like there's any way to push for that other than just like a rule structure for the group? Like if you don't adhere to the same levels of empathy about certain issues, you're out, kind of thing, or I'm trying to see because
maybe to a certain
well.
extent, because we definitely there are definitely some behaviors that we don't condone and find unacceptable, and there's definitely reasons for that. And that's based on concepts like empathy, compassion, social justice, reason. So there's reasons for having that. Like bodily autonomy, for example. We believe in that because everybody wants to have control of their own body, and that's a pretty common thing. So I think based on our conscience, so to speak, we can have a sort of objective-like basis for our moral values, and that's definitely how it works in humanism as well. So then, in addition to the moral aspect of this, skepticism is also part of this. So most religions are the opposite of skepticism, but we are religiously opposed to supernaturalism and believe in skepticism. So reason and empirical evidence should be the only source of objective knowledge. Anything that comes from the mind is made up. It can be subjective. It can be false. But it doesn't have anything to do with objective fact. So that's a big part of what we believe as well. Now, moving on to the left-hand path part of it. Left-hand path versus right-hand path is, well, right-hand path is kind of like joining with the one, kind of your more traditional religion. Left-hand path is about individualism. It's about discovery of the self, fulfillment of the self, that sort of thing. And then Satanism specifically, even though there's a lot of variations, the core of it is actually being a religion of opposition. So Satan just means adversary, and Satanism is an adversarial religion. It's about opposition. It's about rebellion, embracing your outcast status, and just accepting being an outsider, and any social conventions have to fit your ideals. You don't just accept a social convention because it is one, and you would have nothing but contempt for unjust. So it's very individualistic. Now, in addition to that, there are various traditions of Satan that can go along with that, and that accounts for the different variations. And for us, we have a literary Satan. So Satan is a metaphorical construct based on literary characters, and the characteristics of the Satan character in different pieces of literature represent some of the values and ideals that we have. We draw upon, maybe a little bit from the Christian Bible, certain stories of that Satan character. Also, Paradise Lost by Milton, and Revolt of the Angels by Anatole France, and a few others as well. And in that, the Satan character is very much a rebel. Doesn't believe in the suppression of knowledge. Wants everybody to have the same access to knowledge. So Satan in that way stands for a lot of things that we're doing, especially the activism part of this, because the activism comes from our belief in rebellion. We have certain ideals that we believe in, such as empathy, compassion, social justice, reason, logic, empirical evidence, and we rebel against anything antithetical to those concepts. So that's what Satan stands for. So when we say "Hail Satan," it doesn't mean an actual being. It means hail to our ideals, ourselves, our ideals, what we believe in. It's just an affirmation of that. And I think I pretty much covered everything. Any questions regarding what we are?
So, I understand what the whole Hail Satan and Satan is basically a figure, right? Not like an actual figure, but represents the ideas. But from an ignorant outsider, like, it really just turns them off almost immediately. They'll just dismiss it and be like, oh, they're just a cult that worships actual little Satan.
Yes.
How do you get around that?
Well, there's two things that I do with that. I divide people up based on how fundamentalist they are. So if they're fairly fundamentalist,
In the group
then
or out group? The people you talk to, or the people in the group?
well, the people in the group would definitely fall into the not so fundamentalist type.
They're all places. You kind of maybe these things.
Certain holes.
Yeah. So so the people who are particularly fundamentalist, we encourage that. They're going to think that, and that actually works out well for us because we're giving them what's sometimes called a poison pill. Okay, they want to have their religion in things, and so we say, okay, but we get to have ours in there too, and ours is Satanism, and that's something that they cannot handle, and generally they will suddenly start thinking that secularism sounds like a good idea.
Some people are shocked to realize the importance of separation of church and state, so I think that's the biggest one.
I never thought about it.
That's the only way to make them understand that, to cut through that dogma, is to use that dogma against them. So you're using their conditioning to get them to do what you want, because that conditioning is the only thing that controls their behavior, and you can't change that.
And the next logical step, probably, is for, if you anticipate the arguments that happen most frequently, if somebody says, oh, I see what you're getting at, but this is a Christian country. So having all of your arguments at least thought through well on that topic, because any second of the day you can pull up a news page with a dumb article.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they all say that. And it's like, well, the First Amendment says something different, and we have access to lawyers who can demonstrate that in court and have done so successfully. So, but then the people who aren't so fundamentalist, I like to try and humanize it quite a bit. And that's actually something that I personally have been doing a lot. I've been doing some kind of, what you might call low-level PR kind of stuff, just making a personal connection with people. Anywhere where there's sort of a discussion, like on Facebook, for example, something gets posted on the NPR Facebook page, or some atheist Facebook page or something like that. And some people have misconceptions, and I just get on there and address that and talk to them, make a personal connection and that sort of thing. And it seems to be pretty effective.
Well, that seems to work because you're very educated on it, and like just this morning, I was telling my parents I'm going to a Satanic Temple meeting. And they're like, what? And I didn't know how to justify that, because they're like, well, because they had all basic misconceptions. I understood that it doesn't actually worship Satan, but I didn't know how to defend that it was actually a worthy cause.
Yeah, the best thing to do is point people to the 7 tenets.
On the FAQ page.
And the FAQ page, yeah. So the basics of it are that Satan is simply a metaphorical construct that symbolizes certain ideals we have, particularly the rebellion and activism component of it. And then the other things that we believe in are kind of like philosophical and scientific skepticism, and a humanist sort of morality, and that's highlighted by things like empathy and compassion and bodily autonomy.
Are your parents theists, or
they don't really, they're like atheists basically.
Oh, what is it all? Isn't that atheist? An atheist is somebody who says, what does it all matter anyway?
Well, there's a few different kinds. There's the apatheists that they sometimes call themselves that don't care. I can't remember what the atheist was.
Similar. I think it's similar. I think it's probably.
Technically speaking,
there's lots.
Well, then they should care what you're
self-identify.
doing. They should all say
They
this.
still follow the label, they just don't want the label.
Yeah. Frequently it's people that just don't want to say that they're
Or they don't know what an
atheists.
atheist
Yeah,
is.
they're a little confused
What if you
about
told me
it.
that you were going to Seventh-day Adventist?
Yeah, but still, even people that I've met, I've never been a single person in my whole life that's ever self-identified as an agnostic that isn't an atheist, just because to them it's the nice middle ground where I can not step on your toes, but really they're just an atheist.
Yes, I know.
But
Yeah.
originally, so when I first started getting involved with PST, Kyle's objection was no one's listening to what you're saying because you're hiding under the shroud of Satan, right? So we've actually talked about this a lot.
I was wrong, by the way.
So idealistically, right, we would like like them to everyone, all the Christians or anyone really, to shut up and listen to what we're trying to say, what we're really trying to accomplish without having to use the necessarily such a strong shroud. But at the same time, we're getting shit done without having to wait for that to happen. So, there's a lot of, now like, there are Christians who want separation of church and state, obviously they exist, and we love them, but they don't make up the majority. So instead of waiting around for everyone to get a clue and to be rational, we're just kind of shoving a hot poker in their face.
Impatient, militant atheism.
Right.
Moving the Overton window.
Yes. So we're just using their own beliefs against them to get them to bend to our whims without the knowledge. And I've also learned that if you're in a really annoying conversation with a Christian, you just bring up Satan and it'll shut them down. So.
Yes.
Well, for me, I'm less concerned about perceptions. I'm not concerned about theist perceptions. I'm not concerned about Church of Satan perceptions. My one and only true objective, I'm 100% loyal to the cause. My focus is on keeping the wall between church and state up. That's it, period.
That's
they can talk shit about us all day. I don't care. I've been atheist since I was 6 and didn't know what to call it. So it's nothing new to me having that sort of, whatever.
Exactly
I'm going to do my thing and they can all go.
It's also important to keep in mind, I think, to keep in mind whatever the most effective route
Say Satan.
would be to make a change. If your bigger goal is to convert, to make a change in just thinking, who already are leaning strongly or whatever in the direction of theism, who have a lot of defenses there. Sometimes shutting down a conversation, not to say, but sometimes shutting down a conversation by cutting it half off might not be as effective in the big picture as maintaining a good, sound discussion where it's the best of your ability, the details of why what you're saying makes sense are laid out.
Well, to be fair, you've also been involved in the person that is shutting down the statement, so you know how unrational your person is and you
And again, I think debates like that, and you are, I mean, everybody bumps into somebody who's just absolute about whatever they already assume to know. So when you get into a good-sized discussion, whether in person or online or whatever, with a person like that, it's not about converting that person. That person's not the target. The target is anyone who would pay attention to the debate.
Yes.
Normally I would do that, but anybody that's listening on my Facebook page is already pretty much there.
I say you should expect not to convert as well because nobody wants to convert. No one's going to admit defeat.
Right. Well, I stopped debating and arguing probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally, most of my debates and arguments are centered with atheists themselves, trying to help all of us, find some sort of platform.
Sometimes some other atheists are kind of dumb because just figuring out the idea that the concept of God is an utterly ridiculous proposition, it really doesn't take as much intellectual fortitude as people think that it does.
It doesn't.
And everyone should strive to do that with every possible empirical question at the very least. But as far as what people think, we really don't care. Not for the most part. I mean, there might be certain situations where we do, but we're outsiders. We're total outcasts, and we embrace that.
So I'm 19, I'm headed into the workforce, and if I had something like the Satanic Temple attached to my name, I could see that making me not be able to get a job.
Keep it on the down low.
Yeah, create a system.
Anyway, moving on to chapters. The purpose and history of them. So the history is fairly recent. The first chapter was Detroit, and that actually just started this past summer. And the other chapters just kind of have come up here and there since then. And the idea is to have these loosely affiliated organizations that work with the global organization, but are also very independent and can do a lot of things that they want to. So, like with this chapter, I can do pretty much whatever I want. There's some things I have to clear with the founding members, but I'm I have a great deal of freedom to do what I want with this. This chapter is going to be very much in the tradition of TST as the philosophy is written on the website. I've kind of come from the same background as Doug Messner, so I very much agree with everything that he's put on there, because we both come from that hardcore skeptic sort of background. So, and then let's see, the activism would be one big part of this. We're going to be doing some different activities here and there, which I'm gonna get into that a little bit later here. And that's going to be a big part of this. Then community is also going to be part of this. Because what I want to do with this is have it be a religion in every sense of the word. Well, except some people consider supernaturalism to be definitive of religion. I don't, though. I think supernaturalism is not definitive of religion, but all the other things that people would think of as being part of religion, I want to do that. So I think there should be a sense of community, at least eventually. I mean, there's not going to be that many people at first, but later on when we get more people, we'll do all the same things. There will be weddings and funerals and different gatherings, and just providing support for each other and that sort of thing. So I definitely want to develop that. It's going to take a while, though, and I have to kind of develop that over time. Now, any questions on the chapter?
Just for the reverse irony, can we have a canned food drive first? Like the first thing we do, the non-shock value of canned food drive.
We could.
Something boring.
Just like if we were known or became known through the news for our activism in helping old folks mow their lawns or something like that. That would be
Yes. There is something in the works that's going to be like that, but a canned food drive, that's definitely a possibility.
Justin and I are organizing a vote day registry on our campus for our club. That's going to be
It's very easy to do, too.
Yeah, they organize all that stuff. And they're actually, I don't know if they're Christian founded, but they have their rules are kind of specific
They're
about who
typically
can
Yeah.
donate. But they're going to have a
Sponsored.
petition there that they can sign to change some of the rules about gay people can't donate and stuff. So we're going to hopefully fix that.
Right, good.
That's another reason why.
We have some things to hand out. This is a loosely affiliated organization that will act in conjunction with the global organization, and we believe in logic and reason, skepticism, compassion, empathy, social justice, and rebelling against anything antithetical to those ideals. And we want to engage in activism, which is the form that the rebellion takes. And I also want to provide a sense of community to people. Not everybody's looking for that, but I know that there are a lot of people that do look for that. So I want to have it available to those who want that. I think that's about it. But if anybody has any questions for the whole overall thing, anything I went over, now would be the time.
Is there going to be like a regular, we do this on this day every month or every 2 weeks? Or?
There can be if we decide to do that. That's not in the plans for right now, but if it ends up looking like that would be a good idea, we could definitely set something up. We could maybe have a regular meeting time or
even just a social.
Yeah, a social
a structure,
gathering.
just
Can we
get
do
together
get-togethers
and-
where there's beer involved? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah,
There was a vodka one.
Yeah, we can definitely do ones where
Dave has
there's
a table,
all kinds
I'm
of
just
stuff
saying.
like that. Yeah, we can
got
have
he's
beer,
got
we
a
can
breath
have
issue, but he does
vodka,
have-
scotch, any good stuff.
So yeah, gatherings and celebrations, along with meetings of some sort, are I think absolutely good ideas that we will be having. So
That would be
And
like
even some
through an
family friendly,
encouraged
bring the kids.
suggestion, right? Like,
Sure.
so if people want it, say you want it so that we know you're interested in it.
Yeah, and if, if people are interested in anything in particular, just let me know.
if you have abilities to host,
Yeah, because I'm just putting all this together, so a lot of the stuff, particularly the community aspect of it, we're creating it right now, so you're all a part of that.
Ground.
Is everybody, for the most part, and just about everybody is involved on Facebook in some small way, is that something that everyone has access to or would be able to?
Weren't we gonna gravitate away from Facebook though, for all of our TST related?
Eventually,
Stuff.
there's
You can
a
keep it
forum
going.
that's
Right.
that's
Being
being
built.
made.
I just think it's easy
That would
to
be
announce
like a
things,
membership.
we could do that. So.
I suspect that
I mean,
Malcolm might be the forum admin. That's my suspicion. I don't know if that's true, but I think he might be. In which case, it might be a while before that gets done because that is
he's a busy guy.
the busiest man I have ever met.
And I do have a question, on your, member information form, did you ask people to put down any special interest skill sets they might have? Like Scott could say, yes, I'm a great letter writer, or, and she could say, I'm a good artist and I'd be happy to help you with a display, or, I make the pentagram
That was
balloons.
on there,
Yeah.
but yeah, if everybody could give me that information, like the sort of things that you're good at. I know a couple people have indicated being good at art, and we have our letter writer here. And, my part of it is kind of organization and the philosophy and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I guess I've ended up becoming good at dealing with people, which is strange because I didn't used to be.
It's all about your wife.
Yeah, that could very well be because
I
it
just want to
seems
commend
like
you on
it's the
running an
last
entire
few
meeting
years.
without calling anybody a fucker. I thought that was really.
Damn it! We were gonna pull that out at the last minute.
Single
So,
fuck today, that was good.
So in conclusion, you're all a bunch of fuckers.
Get the fuck out of here.